Hello again, I'm Robert Fiffin, and at least this deep dive into 1992 in this video series isn't as long as the year 1992, even though it might be seeming that way at this point. I really appreciate you watching these videos as we go back to 1992 and rank and review 215 albums from that year. We're almost into the top 40, just got a few more to go to get to that. We are at number 47. So it is not my favorite Cure album of all time. It would not go in my top 5. I doubt it would be in my top 10, and that is the album called Wish that was released in 1992. First got into the Cure, first heard of them right around the Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me album when they used to play Why Can't I Be You on the MTV specialty shows, like 120 minutes or whatever. I thought the video for that was just crazy. I really liked the over-the-top wackiness of the song. I had no idea they were this sort of dreamy pop, kind of morose, kind of goth band, because that was the first song I ever heard from them. And then I went back and got the Standing on a Beach cassette that had all the B-sides on side 2. Really got into that, then got to hear more of what the Cure really is. And then about that time, a friend let me borrow the video for Staring at the Sea, the videos, and I thought, wow, this is a band that's got all these visuals, and the same director is doing all the videos, so they've got like their own kind of style with that too. Really got into them, and then the single for Just Like Heaven came out, and that started getting played on MTV. And I thought, well, they're kind of more moving in a pop direction, I guess, now. Hot, Hot, Hot was after that, I think, and it's like, yeah, this is not the same band that's on the Standing on a Beach tape. And so then Disintegration came out, and I'm like, okay, well, now they've moved back to what they were. This is really cool. Fascination Street, I thought, was awesome, that song, especially the long album version, and just the whole, like, you know, just swell and just blur of instruments. You know, that whole swirling sound that I'm always talking about. They definitely had that on that album. And so when this one came out in the 90s, I'd known about The Cure for about 6 years at that point and was really looking forward to this. And the first single, High, was out, and I'm just like, no, get back to the Disintegration stuff. Get back to the early stuff. And then the second single came out, Friday, I'm in Love. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is ridiculous. And so I never listened to the whole thing. I thought it was all like that. I got actually kind of upset with The Cure because at this point, by the time this album came out, I had already gotten their back catalog. I had already gotten like Boys Don't Cry, the US version of that on CD, kept playing that over and over again, got Faith and Pornography and The Head on the Door, all those CDs, used to play that all the time. And then, you know, this Friday I'm in Love thing is the direction they're going. So I never really checked out this CD until probably the early 2000s or whatever. It was the first time I actually heard it all the way through. A Letter from Elise, A Letter to Elise, didn't like that either. The singles actually are the worst, to me, the worst songs on the album. I mean, A Letter to Elise is okay. High, I don't like, and Friday I'm in Love is ridiculous with just days of the week. I mean, I guess, you know, they got to try to make some money. You know, they got to get on the top 40 charts. They did, and make some silly-ass pop song. But, yeah, the first and last track on here are my favorites. Open, with its whole, like, description of what I'm assuming is being in a bar, and all, you know, the stranger's fingers on your shoulders, and you're looking at the floor, and you just have another drink, and all the things going on. It rains pouring down outside. You don't want to go out. You know, you want to stay in the bar, but, you know, all these feelings are coming on and you feel strange, and been there. So, yeah, for years. And so, yeah, that was a really great way to open this. And then you get, you know, a bunch of kind of love songs, you know, Apart. You know, we're going apart. We used to be so close together. And then other songs about, you know, I want to hold you. I'm not going to let you go. And things like that, and, you know, of course, the singles on here. So the middle part, I'm not so big on, just the love songs and the breakup songs and whatever. But the end song, you know, End, at the very end, that's great with the rock turned a little bit up. You know, they're more in a, you know, louder kind of thing going on, and the whole concept of stop loving me, I'm none of these things. Stop loving me, I'm none of these things. Just repeating that over and over again. You don't hear that a lot in an album of you know, somebody that's basically a rock star at this point saying stop loving me, I'm none of these things. I thought that was a great way to wrap it up, and a great, the great music too. I think this is the last time Boris is the drummer. This is the album that he exits on. So, always loved the drumming, that just because the guy's name is Boris. You don't run into that a lot either. But anyway, The Cure, Wish, it has its high points here, and then, it kind of does this in the middle. So it's like a smiley face, which you don't expect from a Cure album either. Robert Smith, way too happy on parts of this, I guess. I like my Robert Smith sad. I like him frantic. I like him upset, angry. We don't need happy Robert Smith. Who asked for that? Okay, somebody probably did ask for that. But, you can be happy on your own time. Friday, I'm in love. Wow, no. Now, here's a band that was considered grunge, and they were from Seattle, but you might not remember them. They are Grunt Truck, and the CD is called Push. And this was members of Skin Yard and The Accused. Get to show an Accused record, or just a record. There it is. Yeah, they formed this band, I believe in around 90, 89, something like that. I think they had some ties with Alice in Chains as well, back in their early days when it was Alice in Chains. But yeah, Grunt Truck. This is just great hard rock. Starts off with the song Tribe. That was a video that got a little bit of play on like the Headbangers Ball and stuff. I'm gonna let my freak flag fly. Come and join our tribe. Now you remember it right. Yeah, okay. It also has some other stuff on here that was on MTV as well. They had like 3 singles on here too, like Crazy Love and Above Me. Racked was one we used to play in college. When you push and you push and you push. Oh! He doesn't really sound like that. The lead singer is Ben McMillian. Sadly, he has passed away back in 2008 because he was a lead singer of a grunge band from Seattle. That's what happens. Actually, he died of complications from diabetes. But, the great hard rock stuff. This is, recorded very, very well. They lean a little bit more on the metal side of grunge. Not so much the slower, kind of dirgy kind of stuff. These are more like, a little more like Soundgarden, but instead of the soaring vocals from Chris Cornell, you get a more of kind of stomach bellowing from Ben McMillian. So this is more like the working man's grunge album here. If you're someone that, hears the word grunge or 90s alternative hard rock or something like that, and you go, yeah, I don't like that shit. Check this out. You actually might like this. This is hard stuff. This is fun stuff. Not a lot of slow, like I said, dirges on here. Recorded so great. I mean, the kick drum on this just pops right through the speakers. But yeah, crystal clear sound on this. They are on Roadrunner Records too, so that gives them a little bit of a metal edge, I guess. But definitely not like heavy, not like total metal. I mean, I'm just saying it's a little more in the hard rock vein of grunge, less in the alternative rock area. So yeah, Grunt Truck. These guys kind of been forgotten about, but I always liked them. Like I said, I played a couple other tunes in college, and I think this got a Record Store Day release a couple years back. And I remember somebody had a video out and they're like, oh, I picked up this huge stack of like records from Record Store Day. I don't know what like half of these are, but it looked cool. Hey, I like the chick on the cover with the toy truck. I don't know if they ever got around to listening to it or not, but they should have, because it's a great album and a great band that was around for way too short. I think they only had like 2 albums out. But I don't think I ever heard their other one, but this one, I need to. This one, pretty cool stuff. So yeah, it's kind of higher up on the ranking. Kind of a forgotten Seattle grunge band, if you want to call it grunge. It is Grunt Truck. Down Colorful Hill. I'm not exactly on a colorful hill right now, but still in this winter scene to kind of give a little bit of change up for some of the videos. But Down Colorful Hill is the name of the Red House Painters debut album that came out in 1992 on 4AD. 4AD, of course, if you're not familiar with the label, a lot of very mellow stuff on here, a lot of very sparse, kind of minimalist stuff on here. That was their whole thing. It's a label where you kind of know what you're getting based on the label. And, that used to be a thing back in the 60s or, 70s. Not so much in the 90s. So 4AD is one of the few ones that, the label you kind of get a sense of what you're in for based on what record label it is. And this one is no exception. Sparse arrangements, very minimalist. You basically have a guitar, maybe a little bass in there, drums and vocals. And the drum sound is, if you like snare, You like a lot of snare, maybe a little kick drum in there every once in a while, and a hi-hat, this is the drum sound for you on this album. Like I said, their debut, and it's not a lot of musical, you know, mind-blowing stuff. It's not a lot of complicated musicianship going on here. The focus is on the lyrics, and they do give you a lot of them. A lot of lyrics. This is basically like poetry put to minimalist music, pretty much. Only 6 songs, but they are very lengthy. You know, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 10.5 minutes. So that's what you get. The first one's called 24, and it's based on getting older. From at least this singer's perspective. You know, he talks about being 15 and, you know, he's getting ready to go to 16 and he's going to know it all. But then he gets to 16 and realizes he's got a lot more to go. But now he's 24 and oldness has come to rile. Yes, 24 is apparently oldness with this guy. So that's a little, that's depressing. You know, I've been 24 2 times over or more. So yeah, 24 is oldness. That really stood out to me. You've got other songs on here like Medicine Bottle, which is just this agonizing love song, kind of like a little bit ambiguous as to what's going on, but it seems like it's pretty tragic, whatever it is. Japanese to English is about, I'm assuming, these 2 lovers, and he's got his head on her stomach and he's looking at her hands or whatever. They're trying to basically communicate with each other. He's English, she's Japanese. They have to translate back and forth, but you know, their relationship transcends the language or something like that. It's that type of thing, but it's a little bit differently written. It's not as tripe as I'm making it sound probably. So that's pretty cool. And then you have Lord Kill the Pain, where again, this is mellow music. And this is a guy who's singing in a very sort of non-affected way, like a poet reading poetry, you know, like I said, and a very sparse musicianship here. But this lyrics of Lord Kill the Pain, this guy basically is praying to the Lord and would like the Lord to, first of all, let's go ahead and kill my girlfriend and the guy that's making eyes at her. I think they're making eyes at each other. We're going to kill them, Lord. Please kill them. Lord, please kill my family. That's the second verse. He would like the Lord to go ahead and kill his whole family. And then, you know, as long as we're doing some killing, Lord, kill the whole country. Flood the whole country out. Let's redo that whole Noah's Ark thing and just the flood and just flood the whole country, everyone in the country except for me. Those are quite the prayers coming from the Red House Painters. But that's yeah, that's how it goes. Michael wraps it up, a song about a friend that you grew up with, and you know, they remember in the heavy metal haircuts and things like that. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to a lot of the lyrics in that particular song. But the friend has disappeared, and trying to figure out where he goes, and reaching out to tripe old girlfriends and things like that. So some of the songs are kind of a mystery, like I said, as to what exactly is going on here. You kind of leave it up to your imagination to fill in the blanks. But that's the way a lot of poetry is. So interesting listen. You definitely have to pay attention. You can't be concentrating on something else or trying to do work while this is going on. It's all about the lyrics. It's all about the mood. Best listen to 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, you got your 3 o'clock in the morning albums. This is one of them. The Red House Painters and Down Colorful Hill. Madonna was always changing it up with the times, sometimes even ahead of the times. She changed her style a little bit with this album from 1992 called Erotica. And I remember I got this when it was first out. Didn't really care that much for it when I first heard it, but it takes a little while to get into it, especially if you like the older Madonna. And this is kind of more of a house, you know, house music, a little more of the drum looping going on, which I wasn't a fan of. I'm thinking, oh man, she's gone New Jack. She didn't really go New Jack though, just some flavoring of that here and there, but it's not to the point where it gets annoying. But yeah, there's not a lot of like really big, huge pop runaway hits on here, like Into the Groove or something like that, or Like a Prayer or something. This does have Deeper and Deeper, which was kind of a hit. That was a club banger for a while. And Deeper and Deeper is great because it's the same exact drum track as the song Vogue. It's the same exact one, but she does acknowledge this because at the end of the song, I think she forgot what song she was doing. She just starts singing Vogue. So at least she's honest about it. And then probably the most explicit track on here doesn't even have any F words or anything like that. It's called Where Life Begins. And it's all about cunnilingus, and it's fairly straightforward about it. I mean, it's not beating around the bush. It's more like beating around the bush without the first B. But yeah, it's, you know, she's worked hard after a hard day's work. That's what she wants. She wants to come home and she wants somebody down on it, you know? And so yeah, that's about as explicit as it gets. Like I said, most of the stuff on here is relatively just straightforward song, you know, that the light rock stations play, which is a great song. It kind of gets lost in here. Kind of came and went quickly and kind of got forgotten about. But I really like that Rain song. She does a really good job with the, you know, she does the, you know, the nasty stuff. She does the attitude stuff. She does the club stuff. She does the light rock. She's multi-faceted in that way. But this actually, lyrically, is pretty diverse. It goes in a lot of different places. It's not like a bunch of, hey, we're partying now. Hey, here's a love song. Hey, here's a breakup song. Here's a sex song. Here's another party song. I mean, there are a lot of different themes on here. The one song on here, In This Life, towards the end of the album, is a really telling of the time that this was. It's about a friend that's died of AIDS, and she's really pleading about when are we going to get through this? When will this ever end? You know, how many more people? And then she's kind of critical of the way that people are responding to this. Like, you know, just turning your head and waiting for it to be over is not enough. That type of thing. So this was released at the same time as that sex book that she had out. And I think the release of that and the publicity behind that, all the hype surrounding that kind of overshadowed this and made this, and you know, it's called Erotica. It's got the parental advisory. I think it was the first Madonna album to have that on there. I think all of that made this, and she had just come off the Justify My Love single as well from the Immaculate Collection, which has this video that MTV refused to air, and you had to rent the video. We had it at Blockbuster. It was the only time we had ever sold or ever rented a music video single. And we were like, is this even going to work? Are people going to come in and rent one music video on like a 5-minute tape? And sure enough, we had that lined up right next to all the big movies, and people would come in and rent it for like $3, you know, dollar per minute. Okay, it was probably more like 70 cents per minute, but still, it was the only time. I don't think we ever did that again. I think that was the only time that in my history at Blockbuster that we ever rented out a music video single. You know, just one song. That's all it was. I mean, we had music videotapes of concerts and music video collections with 12 videos on them and stuff like that. But this was just one, and it came out as a new release, and people rented it. You know, it stayed a pretty hot rental for a few weeks, and MTV wouldn't show it. So she's coming off of all of that, and she's calling the album Erotica. She's sucking on somebody's toe on the back. So it was like, this is going to be this explicit, nasty, over the top, and it's really not. I mean, she says fuck in a couple of songs, including the first one, the title track. Other than that, though, it's got some mellow moments on here. It's got love songs on here. This song, Bad Girl, which is one of my favorite, it's always been one of my favorites on here, that instead of this being like, ooh, I'm a bad girl, I'm naughty, okay, it's really about how she's not happy being a bad girl, and she doesn't want to live this life, and she's tired of it, and you know, bad girl, drunk by 6. You know, I don't want to live like this. Drunk by 6, though, which 6? Are we talking drunk by 6 a.m.? Because that's how you know when it's kind of gotten a little out of control. But yeah, the very diverse in its subject thing. The only thing I don't like on this at all is this Did You Do It track, which there's 2 versions of this CD. There's a clean one that cuts out some profanity and then doesn't have the parental thing here. And it leaves off that entire Did You Do It track. That track, which is like, I think the third from the end here, is just some couple of dudes on here rapping. Like bragging about how they hit it so hard they split it and all this kind of, did you do it? Oh yeah, I hit them, I don't know, knocked them boots or whatever they were talking about back then. It's this rap thing. It doesn't even really have Madonna in it. It's like, what is this, a Prince album where you're just going to turn over a song to a whole different, to like some rap dude? I looked up the 2 dudes that are rapping on it. One of them is like a producer, and the other one it's credited as the guy that's on the Did You Do It Madonna song. So neither one, it's not like she's got Jay-Z on here or something like that. So it's not even, or the guy from Digital Underground with the nose. I mean, none of these people, it's just 2 dudes, 2 random dudes rapping on this entire song. It just comes on this Madonna album. It's very odd and completely unnecessary. But other than that, which, like I said, if you get the one version of this, you don't even have that track on there. So, you know, there's a reason to get the censored one. But, yeah, the rest of this, you know, you got kind of a little bit of, a couple of throwaways on here. But overall, very diverse lyrically, very well written, well produced. It's got the drum looping thing going on, but you're going to get that in 1992 with pop music. It's pretty inescapable. So I really warmed up to this a lot, and it was great to hear this whole thing again. I'd forgotten how good Rain was. I forgot about Bad Girl. Deeper and Deeper, of course, that's on all of her greatest hits comps, so that, you know, that kind of never went away. But yeah, Erotica from Madonna. So I'm not the biggest Iron Maiden fan in the world. I think they're all right, but I wouldn't put them in like my top 10 bands or anything like that. I really like the first 3 albums. Those are excellent, and I think they start, for me, to kind of taper off after that. They start getting a little bit spotty. Fear of the Dark was the album that they came out with in 1992. And some fans didn't like it as much. Some critics, I remember, didn't care much for it. And then some people did. First of all, I love the album artwork. But I actually like this one, I think, more than a lot of Iron Maiden fans. Starts off really strong with the Be Quick or Be Dead track. Just 3 minutes of just absolute, just thrash, you know, like they used to do. And you've got From Here to Eternity after that, the motorcycle song, very, very catchy, again, very rock out, you know, kind of thing. So this album, I think, is somewhat front-loaded. They put a lot of the best stuff up front. And so, yeah, but yeah, it starts off really strong with those 2 songs. Of course, one fun thing you can always do with Iron Maiden albums is you go down the list and you see what TV shows or what books Steve Harris just read or saw. Here you have From Here to Eternity, The Fugitive, Childhood's End, of course, Fear of the Dark, you know, things like that. So it's always fun to do that on Iron Maiden albums and looking at the titles. Of course, From Here to Eternity is about the motorcycle. It has nothing to do with the Burt Lancaster movie. And but the song The Fugitive, he's basically doing the plot of the old 60s TV show with David Jansen. That's the plot of the song as well. So good stuff on here. I think, like I said, I like this more than most Iron Maiden fans, I think. I actually like this more than a lot of their big albums like Power Slave. I'm not a big fan of that one. Or Peace of Mind, you know. So who knew? Iron Maiden coming back in 92. But great stuff throughout this that we could do without the Wasting Love ballad, probably. There is some strings that they bring in on here, some orchestration, but it's buried in the mix. It's just there for like seasoning. It doesn't overpower anything, so don't worry about that. Very long album. It's like an hour long, but it doesn't have any really, besides the Wasting Love thing, I don't know anything I would actually just kind of skip over. Some of the stuff is kind of hokey, like the Aberration, you know, and Fear of the Dark, the last song, is kind of, you know, the lyrics, but there's great stuff on here. Weekend Warriors is amazing. I can't believe they did that song, especially being an English band. I'm surprised they didn't get canceled for that by some of their fans. It's all about how people go way overboard with the sports stuff and being sports fans and looting and tearing stuff up after a game and getting into fights and all that kind of stuff and whatever, and being just completely over the top when it comes to being sports fans. Myself, as being somebody who is, number one, American, and number two, not a sports fan at all, I've always thought that stuff was completely ridiculous, and it's great to hear like an English heavy metal band calling that out. And, you know, Weekend Warriors, you got to check that track out. Just don't get too upset if you're a big sports fan who likes to knock stuff over after a game and beat people up or whatever. So there's that. There's Fear is the Key. Again, this theme kind of comes up in certain songs this year. It's 1992, so AIDS is a big issue. Freddie Mercury's just passed away. This is, I think, a song that was inspired by that, about how people, you know, just ignored AIDS or really any big crisis like that until it starts happening to celebrities or it starts affecting them, and all of a sudden, oh, now we got to do something about it. So they're calling those people out, so that's good. But just a lot of great stuff on here. You know, probably I would say one of my favorite Iron Maiden songs. Not up to the standard of the first 3, you know, those are classics, but Fear of the Dark, great, you know. Again, love that album cover too. The Flaming Lips on a major label in 1982, a major label, Warner Brothers, as a matter of fact, with Hit to Death in the Future Head. This is, well, it's the Flaming Lips, so you get all kinds of musical kind of adventures going on here. Nothing too way out, though. They keep it pretty much reined in a little bit as far as the Flaming Lips go, but it's still definitely the Flaming Lips. It starts off with talk about those death porn immortality blues. Now, there's a title of a hit single if I've ever heard one. But it is probably the most accessible song on here with its constant wop 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 wop. I mean, to the Flaming Lips, that's a chorus. That's a catchiness of this song. Listen to it 4 times and you'll be going around going wop 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 wop. Who wants to live forever? But yeah, they do the, they do the neo psychedelia better than a lot of the bands who are known for it. They definitely do the kind of the noise rock better than a lot of the popular so-called noise rock bands. Sonic Youth. But yeah, so Flaming Lips, I've always liked these guys, and this was my introduction to them. So this was the first that I'd heard to them, and then I worked my way back a couple albums, like In a Priest-Driven Ambulance, and oh my God! It's the Flaming Lips. And then about that time, the next album came out. And yeah, that's the one where they kind of broke somewhat into the alternative rock mainstream, if that's like a oxymoron, probably not. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. They got on the alternative radio stations or whatever with Turn It On and certainly She Don't Use Jelly. But here they were still just sort of our secret. And there's, like I said, all kinds of great tunes on here. Kind of the thing you listen to more of as a whole rather than picking out individual songs. You do have the big bass on the track Felt Good to Burn. That's the one where, because it's 1992, you got to have something for the subs. We all had the subs in our car. Well, some of us did. Some of us had like 3 subs in the car, and it wasn't even that big of a car. Oh, you gotta love the early 90s. Anyway, that was the one that just go and the whole car would be shaking going down the road. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, there's that if you want that, but mostly this is just a lot of like, what a lot of the normies would consider strange music, but they would put out some downright beautiful, absolutely beautiful stuff later on. So the introduction to the Flaming Lips for probably more people than myself, because they are on a major label, and I got into these guys right before I went to college, and then college days is when, like I said, the next one came out with Turn It On and She Don't Use Jelly. But there's good stuff on here, so if you're a Flaming Lips fan and for some reason you've never heard this one, this is kind of like the in-between road between the way out, independent stuff and before they were known, and then the stuff that comes out later when they become sort of alternative rock gods. So check this out. All right, now it's time to talk about this crazy band from California. They're called punk rock, but I think they're really more of just like a very loud retro kind of rock thing. You know, they do like the old style early 60s kind of stuff, but just crank it up really, really loud and very, very lo-fi. I mean, extremely lo-fi kind of sound here, and it all just kind of works. The band is called the Mummies. Their record is Never Been Caught. And yes, I mean record, because that's the only way it was released in 1992. It didn't get a CD release until I think the early 2000s or something like that. In fact, on the back of the album cover, it says "fuck CDs." So these guys, not a big fan of compact discs. They were way ahead of the curve on that. Even though they have that retro sound, they are the Mummies. And yes, they on stage were dressed all in the mummy thing with the, the white wrapping all around them. And I don't know how they put that stuff on, because it's like tight on their necks and whatever. I don't know if they wrap that stuff every night or they just had a thing that like tied on the back or something. But anyway, crazy act, and very, very, like I said, very lo-fi, cranked up stuff, garage rock type of thing. More like loud garage rock, really, than actual punk rock, but that's what they were referred to as. But yeah, the Mummies, they do covers on here from Bill Haley and the Comets. They got Shot Down from the Sonics, cover of that on here. They do some Frankie Lane with his song Jezebel. That's a part of this. Just all kinds of covers. They got, the Rascals, Come On Up. They do their own tracks too, like Your Ass Is On the Line. That's the very first track. Just a lot of fun here. Just a lot of fun stuff. And from what I understand, what you really want to do is see these guys in concert, because I've seen videos of their concerts. It's not like a band that you can see all the time or whatever. Pretty rare to see them live. But, the keyboardist, playing that big organ, he just picks that thing up off the floor and just, is doing this thing with them at a full-on organ. Just, you know, doing this thing with it while being the lead vocalist. These guys are just nuts in concert, jumping out into the audience, you know, that kind of thing. Just wild and craziness, you know, just rock and roll, basically, just with, you know, the gloves completely off. But the Mummy rap definitely on. So yeah, the Mummies, Never Been Caught. You know, great instrumentals on here, like the Ballad of Iron Cody or whatever it is. You know, they just let the music just rock, you know, and it's your typical, you know, 2-minute songs, 2.5-minute songs. There is a wild one on here, kind of juvenile, called Marigold's a Friend of Mine, all about, you know, this friend that gives blowjobs for 50 cents, kind of like, you know, some 9th graders would make up in the locker room or something like that. There's a kind of a nasty tune about the murder of Sal Mineo called Surprise Package for Mr. Mineo, about, you know, stab a motherfucker in the back, you know. It's just like, we keep repeating that. So, you know, come on now, it's Sal Mineo. Let's have some reverence. But yeah, the Mummies, fun stuff. You know, well, except for getting stabbed in the back. That's probably not very fun. But yeah, fun stuff. Cranked up really loud. Very, very lo-fi, though. If you check out the first track of this and you're like, yeah, that's not... I'm going to need a little more sonic quality, then this is probably not for you. All right, I got a question for you. What is the loudest concert you've ever been to? Not the most aggressive, not the most extreme, like, you know, light show and blowing you away. Just the loudest. For me, easy answer, not even a close second, Jackal. Believe it or not. Yeah, not a death metal band, not something like Jackal. Loudest concert I've ever been to. Smaller club in Springfield, Illinois, called the Atrium. So it was a big place for Springfield, but it wasn't like an arena or something like that. It was just, you know, it's a nightclub type thing. Just, these guys cranked it up to like 13. Forget about 11. And there were guys that, you know, rock guys, because, you know, it's where I used to be on the radio. I knew a lot of the guys that were always going to concerts, and there was like hard rock guys there that, you know, lived and breathed the lifestyle, you know, and even they were like, okay, you know, come on, guys. My fucking ears are bleeding at this point. These guys cranked it up, and it was too loud. Yeah, I mean, I know that some people are going to be like, there's no such thing as too loud. Yes, there is. That was too loud. But always loved this album from 1992. One thing I love about this is it proves, or it disproves, I guess I should say, the theory that all these bands like, oh, you know, Kick Tracy would have been huge if it wasn't for 1992 and all the grunge coming in. Oh, the gosh darn grunge. That's why Roxy Blue never made it. That's why, you know, no, they didn't make it because their albums weren't that good. That's bottom line. Because bands like Jackal, this is their debut. This blew up. This became platinum. This was all over the radio. It was on MTV. They played Woodstock 94. Debut album, 1992. This is definitely not grunge. So it kind of disproves that. If you had a good enough thing going, you could get in there and get on rock radio, and it didn't have to be, you know, flannel. Oh, I don't have my flannel on. Didn't have to be flannel. Didn't have to be Seattle. Didn't have to be grunge. It could be something like Jackal. And these guys are down and dirty, nasty, fun. Southern rock, hard rock, a little bit AC/DC vibe going on with some of the vocals from Jesse James Dupree. He's a madman. I've hung out with him. That dude's crazy. And so, yeah, check this out. You've got songs on here like The Lumberjack, where there's a chainsaw involved. That's different. Also, Dirty Little Mind and Down on Me. Those were the big three. I can't really decide which of those three are my favorites. It's kind of interchangeable. But great stuff on here. They're at their best when they're being fun. And those three songs are just sex and fun and just a blast. Especially the Lumberjack with the chainsaw solo. But yeah, Dirty Little Mind and the girl moaning and groaning and Down on Me with the, you know, love the thought. I do wish it would say going instead of coming, though. Little complaint there on Down on Me. But great mid-tempo rock stuff on that one. When they get a little more serious, like When Will It Rain or I Stand Alone, not so much into those. The party stuff, the dirty stuff, the sexy stuff, love it on this album. And it's just loaded with this. They kind of blew up big and then kind of fizzled out, but they would still play places like Springfield, Illinois for the next, 10 years or whatever. So that's when I got a chance to see them. Now, this is the version with track 11 on it, which is called She Loves My Cock. And so these guys just blow right past through any kind of double entendre, any kind of nudge, nudge, wink, wink thing, and, call the song She Loves My Cock. They just go ahead and just spell it right out for you. Not a great song, though. Great title, great thing. It's going to make you think, wow, what the hell is this, man? It's wow. But the song itself is just kind of, it's not really that fun. It's just kind of a, you know, I don't know, maybe there is something to say for being innuendo and being a little more, you know, a little less direct, I guess I should say. But still a fun CD anyway. Proving again, if you rocked out well enough and you did it and you were slamming, you could still get on rock radio with a basic hard rock album as your debut in 1992. It's back to Seattle for this part of the ranking, and that is the album from Mudhoney called Piece of Cake. This is a kind of a divisive CD. A lot of people don't like it, you know, don't consider it one of Mudhoney's best. Some people do. Some members of the band do not like it. The bassist really likes it. I really like it, so there's two people. But yeah, what's not to like? This has Suck You Dry on it. No time like the present to get ripped apart. There is the 10-inch single for Suck You Dry, one of my favorite Mudhoney songs. Can't breathe till I just suck you dry. I mean, we've all felt like that. What about the cool, like, weird guitar thing in, like, Blinding Sun? This has Living Wreck on it. Shooting for the star. My, how lucky you are. This has the cool organ in a couple of songs like Youth Body Expression Explosion. That's an instrumental. That's pretty cool. Has these little interludes on it. I mean, you know, it has No End in Sight. That's a pretty cool song, too. So there's a lot of great stuff on this Mudhoney Piece of Cake album. I mean, there's some stuff that's not so great, like Let Me Let You Down. We could definitely do without the final interlude on here, that real gassy one. Didn't really need that. But yeah, the rest of the stuff on here is not too shabby. Like I said, it's a little more polished, I guess, than the previous Mudhoney albums. You can definitely hear some cymbals in this on the drums. I mean, those are crystal clear for some reason. I think they were probably recorded separately. They tend to do that. But definitely better than the follow-up, My Brother the Cow. At least this doesn't have a half hour of the whole album backwards. You know, they make the album shorter so they can fit that on the CD. The entire album running backwards after it's over. That's the album after this one. But yeah, I've always liked Piece of Cake from Mudhoney. The cover art there, the two men at the urinal. They're both looking straight ahead. But yeah, Mark Arm Company. Mudhoney, Piece of Cake. These guys kind of overlooked, you know, as far as the whole Seattle grunge thing. You had the big ones like Soundgarden, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, you know, all of those. Yeah, Mudhoney was definitely a part of that. They were early on, and they deserve Pearl Jam. Almost forgot Pearl Jam. But they were early on. Does definitely deserve a place in among the Seattle grunge high rankings. And I still love this album. Except for that last gassy interlude. All right, here's another one that's similar to the Spin Doctors from the last series of 91. This ended up a lot higher than I thought it would after I gave the whole album a listen, and that is Gin Blossom's New Miserable Experience. Man, we played these songs on the radio all the time. Over and over and over and over again. They did have two covers for this. This is the original one with the CD that just looks like a basketball. And then they have this one that replaced it. They're all looking out of a truck windshield that looks kind of like a dingy truck, and the CD just has Gin New on it. But yeah, whichever one you have is the same exact mix and the same songs. New Miserable Experience from the Gin Blossoms. Like I said, a lot higher than I thought. Lot better when you get away from the songs. Like, I haven't heard these songs in a long, long time. So they actually sounded a little better than hearing them every day for like 10 years. This band started off with tragedy, actually. The guy that wrote the two big hits, Hey Jealousy and Found Out About You, his name is Doug Hopkins. He was royally screwed by the record label. He started having some alcohol issues and sort of mental issues with that. And so he wasn't able to stay with the band, and the record label was like, you know what? We'll get you some help, but you got to sign over all your royalties. And of course, this is before they got big. So he signs them over and gets a little bit of money for it and tries to help himself out, I guess, or goes and buys more alcohol, whatever he does. And then the band blows up huge, and he's like, I'm done with everything, including life. And unfortunately takes his own life. He's only 32 years old. And so they start off with tragedy, and then of course they blow up huge. Like I said, the two songs, Hey Jealousy, Found Out About You, but there was also Allison Road, there was also Mrs. Rita, Lost Horizons was a minor hit. That's a song that starts off the album. Until I Fall Away was another one. They just keep on and on and on. I mean, this thing was loaded with singles that were all over the radio, and I'm assuming MTV too. But when you get away from that, the repetition, the constant, you know, hearing these over and over again, and it's been a while, like it has with me, and you listen to it again, these are really well-crafted rock pop songs, and they kind of sound a little bit different from each other. They paint a picture. These guys from Tempe, Arizona, so, you know, they've got the dry desert heat going in their music, and yeah, just a really, you know, a nice listen. I was really surprised how much I enjoyed revisiting these songs. And when, like I said, when you get away from the repetition that makes them just wallpaper, and you actually can sit down and listen to the songs fresh again, they are great, finely crafted rock pop songs. It almost bordering on jangle pop, but not quite. Because if they were more in that jangle pop thing, then I wouldn't care about them at all. I'm not a big fan of the jangle pop stuff. Some of them kind of steer more towards that, but there's enough rock elements here to keep them interesting and songwriting and whatever. So if you got burnt out on the Gin Blossoms back in the the mid '90s, late '90s, after hearing these songs for 500 times, maybe give them another listen. You might be surprised how good they are. Maybe there was a reason they got played over and over and over again, because they were great songs. Usually when a song gets played over and over again, because there was a lot of money behind it, a lot of promotion behind it. But, you know, maybe they were good songs after all. So that is number 38. So that means just a few more to go to get to the very end, and the top 10 and the top 5 and even number 1. They are all coming up. Just a few more videos to go. Thank you sincerely for watching all of them, or just some of them, or commenting, or whatever you've done to be a part of this video series. I sincerely appreciate it. It's been a lot of viewing. I understand that. It is quite a deep dive, but I appreciate any time that you give to this. And so sincerely, thank you very much. Cannot wait to get to 1983, but I do have a few more video ideas to do before that, so it's coming soon. Not right away, though. But yeah, so thank you so much. I'm Robert Fitton, and I will hopefully see you, or you will see me, in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.